Welcome everyone to this live webinar, Brand Your Soul Purpose. This is a joint collaboration with Life and Soul Brands and the Evergreen Blossom Movement. I am Tony and Hannah Batista, your host. Working with me is Felipe Batista. And I'd like to welcome Noelle Aquila as our soul purpose branding expert. She's the founder of Life and Soul Brands. She has a master's degree in luxury branding and international marketing. And she's here with us today to bring us and share with us her wisdom, her experience, and her expertise on the journey to branding your soul purpose. And so I'd like to welcome Noelle to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Tony Ann, and I'm so excited to be here. And I'm really excited about this topic as well. So today we're going to be talking about how to merge your soul purpose into business and work. So this is really concretizing what was, like a conceptual soul purpose. And today we'll be looking at it through the eyes of really familiar and influential figures, ones that I'm sure you're all familiar with. So now, let's just kind of center ourselves and maybe even close our eyes and begin to step into their shoes. So the year was around 27 AD. You're the son of a carpenter and are just beginning to step out to work. Work is surprisingly not carpentry. You knew this ever since you were little and when you found yourself speaking to high priests at a temple. I think you've known your soul purpose. That's to share the message of love. And now it's the time to begin doing this concretely. To begin putting your soul purpose into action requires first your conscious decision. It requires you to begin honing that skill. And there's no better way to do that than to just start. You can take a course or two if that's available, but don't worry if there's no formal training. Life has the uncanny ability to give us the training that we need. Now, you begin to look around and see where you could possibly make a difference. So surveying the world around you. Where does the world need me the most? And where am I called to service? You can actually list the industries that you're passionate about, or you can look around and see where you can help the most. You see, when you healed the sick, you realize you can create miracles. Miracles, can you imagine that? That's what happens when your greatest purpose intersects with the world's deepest need. Want to know how to create your own unique impact? You can also look at innovating by merging two or more industries together. In doing so, you can really begin to identify your niche. This is your sweet spot. That's your niche. It's that spot that only you can fill. It doesn't matter now if there are big players or well-known figures or heaps of competition. In your spot, in your niche, you shine. Now, once you know your niche, you can inhabit it fully by beginning to communicate your message and clarifying it. So clarifying your message. You can say let's say your message is one of love. You can say this in so many ways, but you realize that you love telling stories most of all. And when you communicate your message through parables, this becomes distinctly you. Anybody who hears parables remembers you. So apart from really telling your stories through parables and having that parable actually become synonymous with you, you can also begin by mapping out your content pillars. These are specific guideposts in order to get your message out really cohesively. Knowing you, it has always revolved around parables that have included family, friends, and food. So a powerful vision and why, backed by clear messaging, is what resonates with people and gets them to rally behind you. Now, that's your apostles, or maybe in today's day and age, your brand ambassadors, your followers, or your audience, and also a potentially everlasting ideology. That's the power of a brand. It has staying power. And so now, don't you think you've done really well? Now, let's close your eyes and let's just go way, way forward in time. You're speaking on a podium. The year is 1963. I have a dream. Does that sound familiar? Your speech changed history. Now, in order to touch the hearts and the minds of people throughout time, all of your experiences, your history, and everything that you've learned had to come into play for this one pivotal moment. You haven't had an easy life, and this has led to being able to distill and really clarify your message. So much so that it totally resonates with your direct audience, and not just that. It has resonated with the millions beyond, even many years forward. Such is the power of alignment. That's the alignment of the heart, the mind, the soul, and timing. Your message of peace has become timeless, a vision, a dream that spanned eternity. You've identified a clear niche. In speaking out against racial segregation in a nonviolent manner, in the way that only you can. After all, only you has that voice, that distinct manner, that way of being, and that personality that all come together from all of your experiences. That's your clear brand. That's your personal brand. In your world, one thing has stood out your whole life, and that is the injustice of racism. While you can survey the world, sometimes you don't need to look any further than what's right in front of you. Remember, your passion for something or the emotion that it stirs in you says it all. You've waited your whole life for this moment, and you've honed all the skills required. While you had the passion, you used this to drive you. You mastered it so that it wouldn't distort your speech or the cadence of your speech. And in the process, you made yourself into the very man that would inspire nations to come. Not so bad for your personal brand. Now, take a deep breath and close your eyes once again. Let's fast forward quite a bit to a more modern day. You've made television ratings shoot way through the roof. People all over the world laugh with you, cry with you, join your book clubs, and listen to your warm-hearted stories. You've touched people globally through media, so much so that you even have your own network. Get that? Capital OWN network. It wasn't an easy start in life for you, but you did begin honing your skill quite early. Ever since you were 5 and got $500 from a speech you made, you've known that you wanted to be paid to talk, and that this was your sole purpose. This is a clear and one-pointed intention. This has resulted in a long career in media, trying it out first as a news anchor before finding your open and warm-hearted style. We can survey the world at this point, seeing what other shows populate the air. Truth be told, what was popular that day were the tabloids. Emotional authenticity was not really a thing on television. However, you didn't have to do anything different. Sticking to your authenticity is what got you far. In that day and age, when tabloids and exploitative talk shows were all the rage, you stuck to a style that was all your own, promoting an intimate confessional form of media communication, an emotional style that has always been your forte and is what resonated with the hearts of many. You are known for your show, which is focused on issues of self improvement, spirituality, and weight loss. These are areas of interest that have been part of your own journey. These are your own life experiences that you've begun to share with others, thus creating your niche. You create your niche by merging industries in a way that is unique to you and bringing your inner being, your uniqueness into the equation. This creates a brand that is distinctly you. Your influence has become so vast that it has changed the lives and the culture of people around the world on a global scale. This is the result of being so vulnerable publicly, so much so that it has moved others to connect to their own hearts. Such is the power of the heart and the clarity of message. This shines through and touches others when there's nothing in its way. You're a living legend, a powerful role model for people, especially women, around the world. Not bad for being your brand and building all of your business around it. Now, there you have it. More than just merging your soul purpose with business and work, I want to ask you, how can you be your purpose and have everything you do revolve around this? And maybe, just maybe, you can be your purpose, be your work, be your business, and be your brand all at the same time. Where would the world be today if Jesus Christ, Martin Luther King, and Oprah Winfrey had not stepped into their purpose and spurred action, taken action? Now, where would the world be if you don't? So I invite everybody to really step into their purpose, and we can talk about this more in the conversations to follow. I also do soul purpose sessions for just this purpose. So just remember, merge your soul purpose with your business and work through clarifying your message, honing your skill, surveying your niche, surveying the world, identifying your niche, and really trusting in yourself and in your timing. Thank you. Back to you now, Tony Ann.
Thank you, Noelle. Thank you so much. I really like how you mentioned being your purpose and leading from there, being your brand, being your business. And the questions that you posted, I feel like that really hit home for me. And where would the world be if those major role models didn't step into their purpose? So thank you for highlighting that. I'm excited that you brought up the major points of honing your skills. I'd like to, before continuing our conversation, just address the audience for a quick moment, and just pose this question for you so that you could take this time to really contemplate as I have this conversation with Noelle. What are the problems that you're currently encountering when trying to merge your sole purpose with business and work? And in the last half of the show, we'll have some time with Noelle, a Q&A section. That's a great time for you to bring up those challenges that you're facing so Noelle can address them. So later on, I'll be asking those questions so we can get the ball rolling. I'll give you this ahead of time so you can prepare, because this is a great opportunity for us to dive deep and for you to address what's happening with you. So for Noel, back to you. So you mentioned honing a skill, and you touched upon like Martin Luther King and all these great beings. And so I wanted to talk about Jesus the Christ, for example. Um, and in this modern day and age, for those who are looking to connect, their inner Christ with their business, with their soul purpose, and with making that tangible in the world, their purpose. Give me an example of what a niche would be, and for Jesus the Christ, for example, and how would he or she clarify that message in the world?
Thanks, Sonia. So that's a really great question. So you're asking what niche would Jesus Christ have in this modern day and age? And I think that he would definitely be in the industry of speaking, in the speaking industry, and maybe niching down, and more particularly in the, spiritual and, personal development, maybe realm of the speaking industry. And he would probably be communicating his message and clarifying this in terms of, telling stories, but so very much based on lifestyle. So teaching people on the way of being and the way of living. So I think that would be his message, and he could have done this in so many ways. Um, but I think his distinct way of communicating this would be through stories, and then through the different channels. And I think in this day and age, it would be through, maybe email, social media, webinars, and the like. So yeah, that's super interesting, just to really kind of think about that, if that was what was happening here and now.
Yeah, I think so too. Just seeing that bridge between time and the current day and age.
Mhm.
So that's really cool. So you said speaking. So how would Jesus the Christ hone a skill? So you said speaking. So give me some examples of what that would look like.
Honing a skill, honing speaking. I think first and foremost, I mean, you could always just speak very informally, right? But then to begin to hone that skill would first require like that conscious decision to, I'm really going to pursue this, and I'll put at least some of my focus into honing and, being more aware of my speech, even in maybe everyday life, and then pretty much practicing, maybe setting up scenarios wherein you're also able to speak and like share your message to others, and being open to the feedback, slowly bettering yourself day by day. I mean, in this day and age, there's so many books, courses. I also think that that's a very great way to get resources and ideas from other people. So so
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, so I see that there are definitely practical ways that you can go about starting from wherever you are with your skill set, and just starting, taking those small steps, basically is what you're saying.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And so, for starting a business can be, for some, intimidating. You found your sole purpose, and now you're having to, if you choose to use the vehicle of a business, may face sometimes doubts or fears or certain thoughts about business. And so, what are some of those fears or doubts or thoughts that one could encounter when embarking on that process?
Sure. I mean, that's so universal. I think everybody would have that same like fears and doubts, especially when it comes to trying out something new, and especially when trying something that means a lot to you, So, I mean, some of the doubts would be maybe self-doubt. You're doubting yourself. You're not maybe feeling very like worthy on the inside. Maybe some anxiety just to know the end. Like, I want to know how it's going to pan out. I want to know for sure that I won't fail, So that's also not living very much in the present moment, and also um, not trusting that not trusting what life has to offer, and that you can actually surpass any obstacle. Um, Other ones could be like frustration, maybe, and that also has a lot to do with like not being okay or accepting where we're at the moment. So, yeah, there's tons. And I think that a lot of the fears that come up are actually a really, really good indicator of what means a lot to you, and that's also sometimes where your biggest potential can lie. So it just really it's just really all about embracing that with love, and accepting that fear, and in that sense you end up transmuting and transforming it into a learning, and into something that you can that you've owned within yourself, thus contributing to your essential wholeness. um, so yeah, it's good, accept the fears and work with them instead of rejecting them and pushing them away. And yeah,
Yeah,
I
so it's just really not denying it. So you've owned a business, and so you've been through that journey of starting something of that magnitude. And so tell me about your journey in what are some of the things what are some of the learning lessons, and how did you overcome those fears and rise up so that you can stand where you are now, where you're comfortable with just stepping out there and
oh. First of all, it's like it never completely like just goes away. There's not one like thing where it's like, okay, I'm over it. There's always things that'll crop up, and then and that happens when you're trying something new. I mean, when I was starting my business before, and also in the new ones that I'm pretty much starting again, a lot of the fears would be the same, actually. That fear, doubt, anxiety, and a lot of that would come from me not really trusting myself to be okay, and to overcome each and every obstacle. But all of the work is actually inner work, and it does really help to check in and see what are the thoughts that are cropping up, because that's also an indicator, and it also shows what you believe in. So I think the way to get past any fear is to come back to yourself and embrace that fear. At the same time, stepping forward, even if you feel a little nervous. I mean, it is possible to rescript and change your perspective so that that fear could somewhat become like excitement or nervous excitement. So you can always shift it slowly so that you can raise its vibration or frequency. So
okay,
yeah.
wonderful. And so if like, what are the we have major brands like Nike and Apple, and they're doing what great. And so
Mhm.
they must have certain elements in their brand that's speaking to the people, that's connecting to them. And so, again, like the example I mentioned earlier. So if I'm Jesus the Christ, and I'd like to create a brand that's successful and that will connect to my audience, and be relevant in this day and age. So what are the necessary elements that you feel um, would be necessary? What do those brands have that you
Mhm.
feel that are necessary for someone like me, or from like Jesus the Christ to have?
Mhm. Yeah, so there are several elements that come into really forming a brand. And I mean, a lot of the times this could be formed without being very consciously working on each of the elements. A brand like Apple, for example, has a clear messaging, think different, and this has resonated with everybody who has felt a little bit of an, you know, away from the pack, or a nonconformist, or a little bit of a rebel. But aside from that, they have packaged it also with a very clear design. So they're very big on the design aesthetic, and this is one thing that has been cohesive throughout the brand. Also with the theme and the value, I'm sure, of innovation, right? So your values will also start to come into building that brand. And same with Nike. I think they have appealed to everybody, but I think their tagline is more like if you have a body, this is for athletes, but if you have a body, then you're an athlete. And this is kind of um, this is saying we are for everybody shapes and in all shapes and sizes. And I think this appeals to a lot of people as well, not to mention that they have cool gear and all that. So you're talking about like Jesus Christ, and example, branding him. So that's really more like a personal brand, and that's also very entirely possible. So the same elements would come in, and that would be first really getting clear on your values, and getting clear on a very specific concept, and then being able to put together the brand aesthetic. So this is the look of the brand, the personality, the voice, the tone, and of course the message. So this is why I was talking about having clear content pillars to have cohesive messaging. Um, Apart from that, in terms of the brand is also going to be perceived differently by different segments of the population. So it is possible to build a brand and then kind of twist it and turn it depending on different uh, circumstance or slightly different target markets. So there's that, and basically it's building it into a separate entity or into an entity of its own. So,
And what if,
right.
thanks for sharing that. So it sounds like the design is super important. I mean, I'm sure it's everything, and the messaging. So you highlighted that several times. And so what if Jesus was not really like a writer or, someone who likes to, knows how to formulate the writing. And, that's a big part of communicating with the audience. And so is that a service that you provide if someone's not comfortable with copywriting and that's not their element? How would you recommend they work on that skill set? Because it seems like that's a skill set you develop, right?
Sure. I mean, I do recommend whatever your service, a product, or what you're about has to be something that you are actually passionate about and passionate about building like expert levels in. So, and anything else actually informing a brand and business. So that's both. Um, you can be, you can actually work with experts in that in different regards. So, for example, when you mentioned writing, and if example writing was not really a skill, I mean, there's so many different kinds of writing. There's creative writing, there's nonfiction, fiction, and there's sales writing, and it is necessary. Like for me, I'm trying to up my skill and hone that in different areas. But if I were to be working with somebody, then yes, that is something that I do provide as a service. Just writing copy or graphics. But yes, definitely a brand is way, way more than its aesthetic. I mean, that's what people recognize, but what they feel is the brand essence. So actually to create a powerful brand is to really resonate on a much deeper level than the physical. So it's really on an emotional level, and also mental level, because then it's kind of like taking up space and, what do I think about this product or brand? So you're taking up space actually in their head. So 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 yeah, that's a brand building, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, that's great to know. So there's hope. If you don't have those writing skills, then you don't have to do everything. You can always outsource and get the necessary help or expertise needed, or build that skill.
Sure.
Okay, great. So we only have a few more minutes in this segment. So I just wanted to raise this question because I was watching a video with Simon Sinek, and he was talking about how he woke up one day in a business that he created, and he just had no passion. He wasn't connected, and he didn't even want to do it anymore. And so, what are the ways, how can someone be out of integrity when merging their sole purpose in business? And if so, how would that manifest and show itself? Or what are the pre warning signs? Or how can you prevent that completely?
hmm I mean, sometimes you can start something, and this comes from an authentic, like inspiration or a desire. First of all, it's also to look at like this is what we talked about in the previous webinar, to see where it's coming from, because again, it might not come from just a place of authentically sharing where you're just so ready and you're sharing, and it might come from more of a place like, okay, maybe I need to prove myself. I want to, I might do this for monetary gain, and that in itself will start it off on a different vibrational frequency, right? And it is possible also to be caught in a business, because there's so many different aspects of a business, and it is possible to be caught in one that's not suited for you at all. And actually that's something I can relate to, because I found myself um, holding up like the entire operation of the business, and that wasn't where my heart was at. And that actually left me to be very made me feel very disconnected also. And, the more you don't listen to that and you're way disconnected, then the more and more disconnected, it's so that's it is possible to deviate when you lose that connection with yourself.
Got it. And so your recommendation for, eliminating that or not even going down that route, hopefully, what would be some, tips? Give me 3 or 4 tips that you'd recommend someone to really make sure that they are staying in connection with their truth.
Mhm. To stay in connection with your truth first requires that you also build that relationship with yourself so that you're aware of the slightest deviations. And sometimes when we shut ourselves down and say like, I feel this way, but no, you shouldn't feel that way, then that's already deviating from your truth. So um, 3 recommendations would be to, yeah, cultivate like this time for yourself wherein you're nourishing yourself with things that you love, with your passions, right? I would also say to actively, start to practice and put things into action, things that you love. So aside from your self-care time, it would be to um, take action and to really build this into whatever you're doing daily. And one more thing. What is the question again? Sorry, I'm getting a little bit con-
No,
um,
no
thrown
worries,
off.
that's fine.
Time is up. Time is up.
I know. So you know what? Let's shift. We'll come back to this. We'll get some good points and we'll come back to this. Thank you so much, Noelle. This was really good. So I'd like to turn to the audience now, and I hope you had this time to, take down some notes and ask yourself the question of what are the problems or challenges you're having in merging soul purpose in business or with work. So I'd like to open the floor for you guys to address those questions with Noelle. So feel free to do that now. This is your opportunity. You have the floor. Just unmute if you'd like to speak, or press *6 on your phone if you're calling from there.
I do have a question from Raquel. She typed in the question. Raquel, would you like to ask the question, or would you like me to read it?
Hello. Yeah, I just have a bit. The dogs. You might just hear some side sounds because I have dogs. If that's okay, I can share. But I can also type it. Hello. Is it good?
Oh, it's fine. You can go ahead.
Oh, okay. Um. Well, actually, I think I sorry, my quiet. Sorry, that's why my dogs. I think I actually know what I'm passionate about and my niche and skill, but what I typed a while ago was something about how do you find courage? I mean, Jesus Christ actually, but I mean technically, Jesus Christ and Martin Luther, they were both Jesus Christ was persecuted, and I turned 33 and I really felt like the persecution. I mean, but and Martin Luther also was assassinated. So my question is, where do you find the courage to push on? My context is I had the business before. It didn't work out because I was giving too much. I didn't earn. Basically, it was about the money. That's why we closed down. But what was interesting was I found myself in the same mission, but being employed and being actually paid well enough to do it. But the thing is, it's like I don't know. It's not completely authentic to who I am because I'm now working. I'm doing something similar to what I'm passionate about, but I actually parked that dream or that business because it didn't work out. So I just hid it. Like I don't know. And then now there's a part of me like that's saying I don't want to be crucified again. I mean, this is fine. I'm basically doing similar. Like I'm an apostle of Jesus, or like I'm doing something. So how would you know what's I don't know if it's practical or it's like it's a balance of everything of pursuing what you think you're called to do, but at the same time, not wanting to be crucified or something like that. I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, I completely get you. I mean, I appreciate using also Jesus as an example. I mean, just to say that, like, when he was crucified, like in theory, he resurrected. So there's that. I mean, there's really something to be learned from the crucifixion, so to speak. So if you had to close your business down before because it wasn't making money, and I can totally relate to that because that's something that I've done as well. But I want to ask you, I mean, it's fine to be in a job if that's actually very fulfilling and you feel like you're finding your purpose there. But what is your why? What is your big reason? Why did you put up your business? And why are you in the job? So I think it's your why. Like, and actually you did mention being on a mission. So I think that's a big question. Like, okay, why am I doing this? And see if your why coincides with what you're doing right now. And it is entirely possible to find purpose at work and to, spread whatever that your mission, even at work, you can already start there. But if your why spans bigger than that, and maybe you find yourself saying, my why includes, things that are outside my present job, like, then I think that's something that, is that can be followed, just because that's coming from your deepest self. And if you do feel like the slightest bit like unsatisfied, unfulfilled, then I think that's an indicator you don't really want that discontent to grow, right? So yeah, that's actually also my question for you.
Thank you for that insight about the resurrection. I mean, I think it's maybe I can sit on and meditate like about the resurrection.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, but I think I need to ask that about the why, and sometimes it's just hard working through structures. I think.
Sure.
Right. Thanks.
And I like that, what you said that, because I can completely relate to that. But also there's something to be learned from the structure. So at first I was like, I don't really want the structure, but it is actually nice seeing existing structures because it helps you in structuring anything else, so there is always something that's really, really positive about wherever you're at.
We have another question. Thank you, Raquel.
Before you proceed to the next one, can I just jump in for a second? So she was talking about courage, and I just wanted to go a little bit deeper into that with how do you, if someone who's feeling they don't have that courage, could we hone in on how do you find that within yourself?
Well, it comes from really having, I think, also a why that is greater than you. Then you can summon up the courage. Otherwise there's not much driving force. It's just kind of like, well, I could do it, but the slightest bit of it's out of my comfort zone. It's not really comfortable. Then that's easy enough to kind of take you out of that, of doing that. But if it's bigger than yourself, then that's a driving force. You can actually rely on that. So versus just finding it within, I mean, you finding it like just from you. I mean, you can take it from the universe or.
Thank you, Noelle. Okay, go for it, Felipe.
Thank you, dear. I'm going to go ahead and proceed to David's question, which is it possible that what I want and what my purpose are two different things?
Wow, what an interesting question. And that's quite simple even. I would say, like, also check in to see where the want is coming from. Hi there. Anyway, check in to see where the want is coming from, just because it's possible to want many things, but it comes from also the ego, right? Like I can want this, I can want like 10,000 shoes, but I don't really actually, it's that want might be coming from a place where, and I'm maybe just trying to fill in, myself. And I've actually felt that before when I wasn't very, very, very fulfilled, and I felt like kind of trying to fill in like the gap with whatever it was, like shopping or food, and things like that. And that's because I wasn't in touch with my soul and what I authentically wanted, and what I authentically was going for. And at that point, for myself at least, it was because I was unfulfilled with what I was doing. So then I had a lot of wants. I wanted to escape. I wanted to take a vacation and that. So that's just interesting, like to see where that desire, that want, is really truly stemming from. Thanks, David.
Thank you, Noel. We have another question. This one's from Ross. Thank you, Ross. The question is, sometimes I struggle with my inner critic in trying to pursue my purpose. I meditate regularly and it has helped, but sometimes the voice is too strong. Can you give some insights on how to silence your inner critic to pursue your goal?
Thanks. That's such a great question, because this I also experience, and I great for meditating regularly. So then you've already also fostered that awareness and in recognizing that it's just your inner critic versus the whole voice in your head, right? So that's a great awareness already. And I think how to silence your inner critic, don't, it's just let it pass. Let it listen to it. Actually, the reason I guess it's not stopping is because you're not listening to it, or you're rejecting it and saying, okay, well, that's that's not me, or maybe that any resistance, any rejection. So I think listen to your inner critic from a detached point of view. So, and you're not stuck in it, but you're just kind of watching it, and then meeting your inner critic with a lot of love and acceptance, because any criticism is just stemming from any rejecting maybe a part of yourself, or a part of, or what a thought that you might have. So yeah, meet it with love, and I think a softer approach to the inner critic. So then it's just become like, okay, that provides a useful insight on things, more like that than criticism per se.
Awesome. Did that answer your question? Is it Ross?
Yes, that's Ross.
Ross? Did you have a follow-up?
Yes. It answered that question. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much, Ross.
Awesome. Anyone else? Any other questions from the audience?
So, like, what is there anything that you're struggling with? Like, anybody here today, like that you'd want more clarity from me, at least, or anything that comes to mind? You have this space to kind of also bring it up. So, and if this is like too public, I'm also available for a call. So basically, I can take discovery calls just to open up the conversation. And for those who are really, really ready to make that next step and already work on, their soul purpose, their brand, then I do have soul purpose sessions wherein we really go in depth. It's a deep dive, and we talk about what we could do to really bring your purpose into something more concrete, into an actual brand and business.
And I do have a question for the audience. It was posted before as far as what challenges you're currently facing in business or at work in terms of merging your soul purpose. Now is a chance. If you have any questions on that, let's ask Noel.
Mm-hmm.
And if no one else has anything to say, we do have a pre-submitted question, so I can definitely roll that in. And if you guys have any questions, Andrea just posted one. Let's go with her.
Andrea's question is, do you ever encounter lack of financial resources when doing soul purpose at work and business? If so, how will you resolve it? And we can start with the first question, and her third question in that line is, how do you know if your soul purpose makes it work, even if there's lack of financial means or support? So maybe we can go one by one.
Sure. I mean, that's a very, very practical question on not having, all the necessary resources. And I think that shouldn't be a factor in stopping you, because it is possible to start with small things and then let yourself, and just being open enough to allow things and resources and people to start to flow. And I can completely relate to this question. I mean, that's even my situation now. I mean, I've had a business prior and then encountered a lot of losses, and it's taken me a long time to really even pretty much climb out of that hole. It was really a hole, and I'm not completely there, and I also want to start a new business, but I was like, okay, how's that? Like, whereas before I had all these resources and it's gone, like, what to do now, right? I feel like the first thing is really just to get your mindset on that, this is more important and I won't let that stop me. And then do things that, maybe to just sustain yourself. So it is important, before diving headfirst into forming your sole purpose and business and all that, sustain yourself through maybe it's a job or maybe some projects or whatever it is, in order to just be stable first. So you need to be stable. And slowly you can start to build in whatever way you can. And just remember that there is really a timing, and it doesn't have to all happen right now. So there's trust in that timing, and slowly you could tip in resources to kind of slowly form a business, if that's what it is, and just let it organically flow while remaining open and trusting that there is a process.
Thank you so much, Noelle. I hope that answered Andrea's question. We have some more, but okay, yeah, let's go for it. I wanted to throw in the pre-submitted, but I'll wait. Let's see who else. We have so many more coming in. Go for it.
Yes, so we have a question from Raquel. Similar questions to Andrea. And her question is, how can this sole purpose and brand combined be sustainable? How can it earn?
Yeah. It's in how a business earns. But first of all, it really starts with you. I mean, I would say that, especially when we're coming from the perspective of that, it's you, it's your brand, it's your sole purpose. It does, first of all, it is you actually believing that you can earn, that you are worthy, and all that. That is the necessary foundation in order to really start to form a business and a brand that also is worthy of attention, of abundance and all that. And so how can it be sustainable? You form a business around it. So it depends on whatever your sole purpose is. And so, for example, if it were let's say writing, then we place in we form a brand around it based on also your distinctness, your uniqueness, and that's one of a kind for sure. And then it could be either offering writing services at first, maybe, or later on, you might want to build an entire business around it. So you can build an organization, you can train other writers, or you can actually develop a course, whether this is an online course, so people can take your course and learn the basics of writing. You can write a book about writing. And so many things. You can have products about writing. You can have like pens and notebooks and, branded with your little logo. You can go whichever way that, suits you. I mean, if it's offline, you can kind of have little circles and, writing clubs, or you can have that online as well. So that list is endless. It's so much so catered to you. And how can it earn? It will earn if you are really serving people. If you're serving people, and of course you have the foundations intact, you have everything in place, like logistics and all of that, and the systems, then yes, I'm pretty sure that it would do pretty well,
Thank you so much. I just wanted to bring, we're going to address all the questions. Noelle will have an extra 30-minute segment after, where she's going to spend some time answering more questions. I just wanted to give this opportunity to share if Ulysses is not with us on the call so that we can answer his question. His question is, do you have indicators that you can share as guidelines when selecting a job that may indirectly or directly pave the avenue for sole purpose? So what's happening right now is he's looking for another job, hopefully in the education sector. And so he just wants to know, what are the indicators? How does he connect and align both?
Mm. So you're looking for a job that is in line with your sole purpose. I would say, if you're very clear, did he mention what his sole purpose was?
No, he just said the education sector is the area that he was looking at.
Okay. It would be looking at it from the perspective already of, and if you were not looking at as a job as the end in itself, and you were looking at it as basically like as a way, right? Or maybe to learn your necessary skills and to gain the necessary experiences, you can look at it that way, and you can pick a job like that's pretty much in line. Maybe if it were, it's depending on you. Like it could be around maybe time, something that's more flexible in order to be able to do something else. Or it could be that if you're looking at a job in education, and let's say, I think like your sole purpose is one of music, then it could be, okay, learning the educational structure and learning how to put together, let's say, a course, an educational course, and later applying this onto music. Or if you like the structure of the educational system, then it would be gaining knowledge in that, and maybe the different like hierarchies in teachers, so as to be able to merge this with music later on and have something that is music education. So looking at it from that realm, I mean, other than that, if you were looking at a job and just want to, and that's how to find purpose in your job, then it would just be to come to work on purpose every day, and in doing that, in that decision, and in being mindful, that's already placing in purpose in work. And
Cool. Awesome. I hope that answers the question. If not, then there's a link for him for him to ask more questions. So thank you for sharing that, Noel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Noel. We have a question from Michelle. Noel, have you encountered that you're grounded with your sole purpose and translates to your business and work? However, the world, in quotes, is not yet ready to accept the concept. How do you work on that?
Well, I can completely relate to this question as well. Thank you for this. So that's why there's also timing. There's timing, and there's surveying the world, surveying the market. It is possible to have a concept that is not yet market ready, and that's actually the pre-work that has been done before launching it in this specific marketplace. So I mean, I can relate to this because the first time I placed up my business, and that was a yoga studio, it was definitely new in the market. I mean, the Philippine market was not very, like, they were very much based on traditional yoga. So it took so much education, especially with the people who I was working with, like the teachers, in order to implement a new idea. So yes, it definitely does have a lot to do with the timing and your market research. However, also, so you can find a place for that. There's always a place for it. Or you can shift, basically listening to the audience first and then shifting it around that. So there are ways to shift your purpose so that it either relates to the market at present, or you can always also find another market for it. So that could be, if not online, then it could be in another country. So that's possible as well if you believe it is.
Thank you so much, Noel. If we have any other questions from the audience, please feel free to stay for the 30-minute segment. I'd love to turn it over for Noelle to give us wrap it up. Let us know, tell us, highlight your points. I'd love to hear just a summary of what you've brought up so far. It's been really insightful.
Cool. Yeah, I had a lot of fun talking to everybody. Lots of really, really great questions. And, a lot of the times the questions actually help me, actually resonate to either what I'm going through right now or have just recently gone through. So thank you for that. Definitely I'll be open and available for any other questions. You can either chat with me or you can book a call with me. So the first call that you have with me is free. It's called the discovery call. It's just to open a conversation, get some ideas flowing, and if you're ready to really begin to form your brand and form your business, then I'm also there to help you in a pretty much in-depth strategy session, and that's called our soul purpose session. And here we use different methodologies. Actually, we use spiritual techniques also to really connect to your purpose and begin to form your brand and message, and then business strategy out of it. So that's called Soul Purpose Session, and you can find that on my website, www.lifeandsoulbrands.com. Just a question from Andrew: how long is your discovery call? I mean, it's ranged from around 30 minutes, more or less. And yeah, so thank you. So just to cap it up, also on the talk, we talked about really merging your soul purpose with business and work, and that is through honing your skill, finding your niche, and what was that? Clarifying your values and surveying the world. So yeah, thank you for being here. Back to you, Tony Ann.
Thank you, Noelle. The Evergreen Blossom Movement and Life and Soul Brands share a common vision and purpose. And that is for us to remember who you are and to remember what you've come here to bring forth. And that is to recreate a new future. Connect to the deeper part of your soul, its purpose, and how we can come together and collaborate and envision a new future where worlds are coming together with peaceful solutions, fellowship with our brothers and sisters, and architecting a new way of bringing forth solutions that can change our future, can change our history, and envision this new world that we can be part of. We all serve a purpose, and that purpose is within your soul. And only you can access that within. And if you take the moment to truly see the value of your purpose and how it can make an impact or make a difference in the world, and truly see the vision that we all have that purpose and that we all can fulfill that. If we believe we have a part to play, if we believe in our hearts and souls that we can make a change, and if we believe that the future is in our hands, and if we can take the action to move beyond our fears, our doubts, our separations, we can bring forth a new world. And so I invite you to connect to that higher purpose that you've come here to fulfill, and use your disappointments and your challenges as springboards into your greatness. Let be the time right here, right now, for you to consider how valuable and important your soul is to this greater vision. And this is the purpose of these calls, for you to see the resources, the love, the support that you're receiving to take the steps, to take the actions. And I believe with all the love and support that we're receiving through the Evergreen Blossom movement, through Life and Soul Brands, we can make a change. And so I invite you into this conversation. I invite you to join us in the Evergreen Blossom movement. I invite you to take that leap of faith and to reconnect to who you truly are. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you so much. And for those of you who have to go, we hope you had a great time and you garnered so much wisdom and insight from Noelle's talk. I'm sure she has so much that she can provide to you with her services. So please reach out. Our next talk show is on February 22nd. That's the USA time. And February 23rd in the Philippines. And this will be how to make a brand an expression of your soul purpose. So Noelle will be staying with us for another 30 minutes. Please feel free to stay with us and discuss more. I feel like it gets even more juicier as we continue. So thank you again. And if you have any other questions, please reach out to Noelle if you have questions. She's definitely there to assist. So thank you again and have a great evening.
Thank you so much. And yes, guys, don't forget to join that Evergreen Blossom Facebook group because there's a lot of discussions that are also happening over there. And I think I'm especially loving the discussion that's happening on the chat. Like, yeah, it's really cool and valid points over here. Yeah.
Thank you. It was truly a great pleasure serving you. I know there's more coming in the chat, and I would love for whoever can stay to stick around to ask any more questions. But thank you so much, and it was a true pleasure to be part of this. Very exciting. Thank you. See you next time.